To the distinguished members of the Brunswick Street Gallery, thank you so much for organizing this for us. It's much appreciated. And to my special guests, thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate you in my life, and you'll always have a special place in my heart. Although there might be cockles in there now. It's just
We'll find out what those are.
My name is Stephen Willis, and I'm a visionary artist. I'm a visionary photographer, and I use light as my medium. These are actually photographs. When I use the word visionary, I'm referring to aspects that are more sacred, more mystical, and more spiritual themes. And when I mean photographer, I mean that I'm actually a photographer, which is something that I need to clarify with my audience, is that these are photos. They are not been digitally layered or made in any sort of a program. They are very similar to your iPhone snaps, a little bit more involved, albeit, but they are photographs. And it's very interesting that people in this digital age, they tend to assume straight away that something that they cannot understand right away, they dismiss it as being digital. You know, we're talking about the rights of humans in a digital age, and for me, one of the rights we have is the right of our imagination and the right to sort of deal with things on our own. And I'm never two steps away from my iPad or my iPhone as well, you know, so it's a very interesting thing to look at. So basically what I do is I get objects, they're all objects, and it's a picture of a sculpture that I've created very meticulously and with lots of intention. And what I'm showing you is a very specific sort of perspective of this situation. Yeah? And this sort of brings me to one of my points, is because specific perspectives, the way that you look at your life is highly indicative of the experience that you're going to have with your reality. The thoughts that you have, the way that you react to situations, the modalities that you adopt in your life, the practices that you have, or the practices that you don't have in your life, how the conversations that you have, the friends that you have, these sorts of things shape your life and they inform it. And the way that you look at your reality is imperative, is critical. So I like to structure and organize things with lots of intention and precision and view them in a very specific perspective, because I know through my experience that in the jigsaw puzzle of life, the way that you put things together and the way that you view things ends up being how you experience your reality down in these flesh bodies in this third dimensional plane. So my experience has led me to know that the most optimum way to live is the one with the least amount of resistance and one that's very personally fulfilling. So what I do is I basically take objects and I simplify them down to just what you can see. So its shape, its color, its texture, its form, its repetition. It's some objects, light permeates through it, some of it are reflective. So I'm taking them away from what you associate things to be. Like we walk down the street and you go, that's a dog, that is a tree, that's a car. Like we're so used to having associations with things. And there's not many things that we can see nowadays that we can't figure out. You know, we just Google it and figure it out. So basically I simplify things so you don't know what it is that I've used. And in that process, I have this foundation that appears, and then I get to a sort of visual language sort of assembles itself out of that I get to use. So I construct these things, I construct sort of peace and harmony and balance. Harmony and balance is a really big thing for me. I'm a Libran, and we're all about balance, so I seek it in all things. So I get these unrelated objects and I put them inside of an active frame. And what I mean by active frame is that if I was to move the frame a little bit in each direction, it would greatly change your experience with the picture. So the frame is as important as the objects inside of it. So completely unrelated objects inside of an active frame right? When we think about that, they're living in harmony with one another, and we start thinking about our planet and our world and the human component in that, we tend to, I know everyone's amazing in this room, but collectively we tend to notice the differences that exist between each other instead of relishing in the love and in the commonalities that actually bind us together as one. So we bicker and argue over stupid shit, we fight wars over religion and other such beliefs. Nice little side note, the word belief, whenever anyone talks about their beliefs by definition are something that are not real, but is a story that someone has attached themselves to. Beliefs are only beliefs, that doesn't make them real. Just because you were born into it, your family did it, society does it, you've been taught it for years, does not make it real, it's just a belief. Yeah? So money is another one. We do atrocious things to each other for money, we manipulate each other, we lie to each other for it. It leads to greed, and other lower sort of vibrational activity that keeps us from sort of living in harmony and prospering together as a species on a planet together, you know? It keeps us from working together, it keeps us from, dare I say, exploring other worlds and joining galactic civilizations that I'm sure would be happy to welcome us if we could get over ourselves and learn how to actually work with each other instead of poisoning our own planetary system, poisoning each other, poisoning the earth, blowing each other up and stealing each other's money while we're doing it, you know? So one of the things that I like to do, or one of the things that back my work, is this idea of coexistence and this idea of demonstrating not only how things can live together as one that are completely unrelated, but sort of themes like advancements and enhancement and evolution of mind. Because one of the things I do is I show people things that they don't see when they're sitting at a billboard. You know, they don't see it on a billboard. They're not used to this sort of information. And when you show someone something that exists outside of their spectrum of ordinary waking life, it gives them the opportunity to delve into their imaginations and actually have a moment with themselves. We're bombarded with images every day that are just bullshit. You know, all the marketing, all the commercials, all the advertising. And so I try to counteract that by doing my best to give you the complete opposite of that. So you might have one moment of exploring your imagination, first of all, which might lead to you having a look at your psyche, or maybe tingling your imagination in a certain way, having access to certain parts of your brain, evolution of mind, advancement of mankind. Basically, is one of my mission statements, something like this. You see, as an artist, I recognize there's a responsibility to make something that is in service of humanity, and something that can better mankind, and something that can help us all along instead of making something to satisfy my sort of own egoic needs. You see, as an artist, as human beings as well, you can channel information from who knows where, and you can bring something into existence that actually did not exist before you brought it through. And once it's here, it's arrived. And then other people can experience it. And they can be motivated by that. They can be inspired by that. It could stir something in them that could change them, or all of these positive things could come from something that a creator can bring through. So I recognize not only the responsibility for this, but it's a gift, and it shouldn't be taken lightly, is what I'm trying to say. You know, the intention should be clear, and in my opinion, I just want the best for mankind. I want to be able to help anyone that I can, and I want to make sure that my intention is clear with whatever it is that I'm bringing through. So I want to talk a little bit about trash, because a lot of my stuff was made out of hard rubbish. When I first started, everything was made out of hard rubbish. Like, this one's completely rubbish, that one's completely rubbish. These are all things that I would find. Like, I was that guy that would be in your garbage at night, sort of thing. Well, it was actually more hard rubbish, so it was out the front of your house, you know? But
I can relate.
a lot of what Milos was talking about really resonated. Because I needed objects, I needed to find stuff, you know? And garbage is a great way to do that. But one of the things that you find when you start looking through people's rubbish, you start to get a really sad sense of what's actually going on, and how much we use and we consume stuff and we discard stuff, and how much stuff is made and marketed and sold, and just to do it again and again and again without any concern for the planet or any forethought for what's actually the bigger picture of us needing to live on in a planetary system, you know? On one, we've got one shot at it. So I like to have the garbage in there as an underlying sort of current to sort of help awareness, I guess. To help people sort of realize what they use, what they consume, how they discard, how they throw away, and also, you know, try to recycle something. Like I don't really recycle, I just sort of adopt stuff because I use it for a while, and then, you know, I'm gonna have a really great garage sale one day though, so you're all invited. But yeah, this theme of rubbish and how we use it and how we discard, and you get to notice some patterns with certain suburbs that have bought sort of the same thing. You could tell Kmart had a sale one year or something like that. You know, everyone's got the same thing in the rubbish. Or like, one of the things that has come up that I'd like to share with you is a future project that I'm going to work on. I'm not sure if anyone's doing it yet. I'm sure there must be someone. But the amount of children's toys that are discarded is